Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Edith and I am a holistic health coach specializing in plant-based nutrition and also helping people alleviate symptoms from disease and chronic illness. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about what foods are actually healing, what foods are neutral, and what foods are actually harmful. There's just so much noise online about nutrition and what to eat and what not to eat. I just kind of wanted to simplify some things for you guys. And this is not to say that some foods are good and some foods are bad. You can essentially eat whatever foods you want. However, it's really important to understand which foods actually are health promoting, especially if you are dealing with some sort of a chronic illness or symptoms of any kind, and which foods aren't really going to do anything for you, and then which foods can actually make things worse for you. So it's really important to understand this basic foundational piece. And then once you have this understanding, you want to operate from the lens of being your own doctor and making decisions for yourself that are going to either benefit you or keep you in a maintenance phase. And even if you want to consume some of the harmful foods, at least you know what you are doing and you know where you are in terms of your health, and you're making a conscious decision to consume those foods. And that is totally fine, in my opinion. You just need to have the awareness of where you are with your own health, and then you can make the best decisions that are suited for you and your current circumstances. Because, this is planet Earth. It's not all, rainbows and unicorns here. This is a dualistic planet. And then also sometimes you want to engage in some fun activities, and maybe on those occasions you might add in some of those harmful foods, okay? But it's just really important to at least have the awareness of where you are in your own physical body, how your organs are performing, and what foods are going to benefit you in moving forward from that. And we all have free will, right? So not everybody wants to operate at their highest potential. Not every soul incarnates here to be in an optimal state of health. Every soul is different. Everybody chooses a different life path. And some people choose hard lessons within their health. And so this is why we shouldn't have any judgment towards one another, because everybody is choosing different life paths for themselves and learning different lessons within those life paths. But it's, again, very important to have a clear understanding of these foundational pieces, because if you do want to make improvements in your health and you do want to be living at your highest potential, you at least have this framework and can make an educated decision in terms of what you're going to consume based on these foundational pieces that are inherently true for essentially all of us. So even though we're all different, we're all human, and the food sources here on planet Earth, they're all essentially going to affect us in similar ways in our human physiology. And you can essentially alter, the biochemistry of the food if you are at a very high leveled awakened state with your consciousness, but I assume most of us are not there quite yet. So for example, if you were to want to consume something ultra processed and want to change the chemistry of it and take it on as if it was like a bag of spinach, you would have to use your consciousness to change the frequency of that food. And I don't think most of us have the ability to do that quite yet. So anyway, let's get right into it. That's a little tangent there. So in terms of the healing foods, it's only plant foods that actually move the needle to improve the health of your physical body in any shape or form. So it's just your fruits, your vegetables, and your herbs, your sea vegetables. So anything from the plant kingdom, those are the only foods that have the life force frequency, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, and the healing properties that can actually improve your health. So those are really the only healing foods, especially if you are dealing with a chronic illness or symptoms of any kind. And this is just fruits, vegetables, herbs, and the sea vegetables that I just mentioned. So this doesn't include grains. So for this next category, I want to call them neutral foods, and this is where I would put grains and legumes, unless they are sprouted. If the legumes or the grains are sprouted, they can be transformed into the healing foods because they're essentially alive and they are growing more plant phytonutrients. And so that ability and that change of frequency within the plant now makes it a healing food. But if it's just, let's say, a tub of rolled oats from the grocery store, that would be a neutral food. So even though there are some minerals, maybe even some vitamins in there, they're just not potent and strong enough, and they lack life force energy. So they're not able to move the needle to improve a health condition. So this is not a bad food. It's not going to harm your body. It's not going to make your symptoms worse, but it's not going to make any improvements either. So this is a neutral food. So the tub of rolled oats is a neutral food. Any kind of grain, so rice, any gluten-free grain, I should say, is going to fall into this category unless it's sprouted. And then also legumes I would put in here, even though, the blue zones eat beans and lentils and all of that stuff, that yes, they are great. Yes, they have a lot of nutrients in them and they have the plant protein. However, protein does not move the needle in the right direction in terms of improving your health, because there aren't those potent life force energy compounds in legumes, because these are cooked. Okay, so they might still have some vitamins, but most of the vitamins will be cooked out when you're consuming them. Again, unless they're sprouted. So if you're sprouting your lentils or your chickpeas, those are now healing foods. But if you're eating cooked legumes, those are just neutral foods. They will satisfy you, but there aren't any antioxidants in there and phytonutrients that are going to improve the health of your liver, your kidneys, or any of your organs that are going to move the needle to improve your health condition in any way. So they're just kind of neutral foods. They're going to help sustain you. They're going to keep you going. They will provide energy in terms of sustenance, but they aren't going to alleviate any chronic symptoms that you are experiencing. And I'll put a list here on the screen in terms of what I would call neutral foods, but essentially it's all of the plant foods that aren't alive, and some, I don't want to say, all of the animal foods are harmful. I mean, I do feel that way, but I know that people are consuming animal foods and are still able to maintain high levels of health. So there could be some animal foods that you could classify in the neutral foods, as long as the person isn't suffering from chronic illness symptoms and they are exhibiting a good state of health. But I would say that the majority of the animal foods would fall into the harmful categories for a lot of different reasons. And so let's jump into the harmful foods. So I would put most of the animal foods in here, specifically dairy, eggs, pork, and I mean, honestly, I would put any factory farmed animals in there. Okay, so anything that's factory farmed, those are all going to be harmful because of the way that the animals were raised, because of what they were fed, the antibiotics that were injected in them, the hormones that are not meant for our human physiology. Those are all essentially harmful, meaning that they could move the needle in the wrong direction, especially if you are already dealing with any kind of chronic illness symptoms or conditions, okay? In addition to that, animal foods contain much higher levels of fat and cholesterol than plant foods. Plant foods actually don't contain cholesterol. So there's so much scientific evidence already indicating that, those foods can lead to heart disease. I normally don't even tune into all of that. I'm more of a spiritual-based, holistic health coach. And then also I follow the medical medium advice, and because of the levels of fat in the animal foods, they place a greater burden on the liver. Anything that places a greater burden on the liver is going to move the needle in the wrong direction. And you will probably see a lot of your favorite influencers online sharing that they're consuming these foods. I would bet that majority of them are in their 20s, maybe early 30s. But I guarantee once you're in that mid 30 to older range, you can't really get away with all of these high fat foods unless you have not been exposed to very many pathogens in your life, okay? So if you have a very low viral load, a very low toxin load, you might be able to get away with those things later on in life, but the majority of us have been exposed to pathogens, including myself, and therefore we are not able to get away with some of those things. I myself noticed a decrease in my vitality around the age of 35 because I had pathogens in my body that I was not aware of at that time. And so since then, I have adopted a high raw vegan diet, and I have noticed my vitality increase because I have increased the level of these healing foods in my body, in my diet. And the majority of what I eat, I would classify as healing foods. And then I do play around with some of the neutral foods like oats and, legumes and all of that kind of stuff. And in addition to the animal foods, in terms of the harmful categories, I would put all of the processed foods, so like bags of potato chips, any kind of canola oil products, canola oil itself, anything that's ultra processed, so that comes in the bag in a box that has more than 5 ingredients and the ingredients aren't from real foods. Those are all going to be harmful foods that are going to move the needle in the wrong direction in terms of health and vitality for yourself. And again, I'm going to have a list of all of these foods on the screen, and maybe I'll even put it in the description box below, and you can definitely ask me some questions as well. But I just wanted to simplify some things for you guys. So there's the healing foods, there's the neutral foods, and then there's the harmful foods. And so once you can look at all foods through this lens, then you can make educated decisions for yourself. And this doesn't mean you have to live in the healing foods category, but if you are struggling with a serious health condition, I highly recommend you do so. And then once you've made those improvements, you can add those neutral foods back in, because again, you want to have a high quality of life. And if some of those neutral foods bring you joy, add them in. Okay, so like oats bring me joy, so I consume them on a regular basis. However, when I'm cleansing or when I am wanting to really make some huge improvements in my health, maybe I've experienced like a viral flare, for example, which I did at the beginning of 2025, then I just lived in that healing foods category for 2 months until my symptoms completely improved. So this is again where you want to be your own doctor, where you can make the best decisions for yourself, and you're able to see exactly how each food is going to perform in your physical body. That way you can decide, what level of health you want to experience. And that's ultimately, I think, the best thing that we can do for ourselves in our current world, is to at least have a solid understanding of these things, and then just make the conscious decision of how you want your experience to be. So some people would rather eat more neutral and harmful foods because it brings them joy to consume those foods, and they're willing to sacrifice their health a little bit to do so. So everybody's different, no judgment on that. So if you want to live in that area, you totally can. But if you want to experience high levels of vitality and be your best physical self, you would probably want to focus more on the healing foods, okay? So this is just your own personal decision. Again, we all have our own free will. But it's just really important to have at least the understanding so that you're not sitting there wondering, why do I feel this way? You know, at least you're going to know that you're going to experience a crash if you have consumed, you know, these high fat foods, and they give you like that initial burst of energy and that satisfaction, but later on you're going to come down from that, and then you're not left wondering, why do I feel like this? You already know, and you're okay with it because you made the conscious decision to do so. So again, no judgment. Everybody can decide what they want to do for themselves, but if you want to make health improvements, then you definitely want to know which foods are going to give you that. And if you want any help on your journey and you need support on how to create a diet plan for yourself to achieve a specific health goal, then feel free to reach out to me. I have a free consultation that I offer to everyone, and the link is down below. It's a Calendly link to schedule, and we can just chat and get to know each other and see if we're a good fit to work with each other. And I would love to help you if you are looking for some guidance on that. Okay, I think I will end it here. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and let me know if you found this helpful.